You're listening to the new WCEG Network on WCEG Talk Radio, or you can find us on live on Smart TV, YouTube, LinkedIn, and on the WCEG Network or Facebook, Twitter, WCEG Talk Radio. And good evening. I am elated today to have a good friend, an outstanding public servant, to communicate with about some of the good things that are happening in the Fulton County Sheriff's Department. This is none other than Patrick Labat, the sheriff of Fulton County. Patrick, how are you doing?
I am outstanding. Always good to see you, my friend. I'm so happy for you. And we are at the sheriff's office. We are elated to be able to serve our community and certainly appreciate the opportunity.
Great, great. So let's start by telling the people who is Patrick Labat. Tell us a little about your experience and who you are. Let's start off there.
Okay. Well, always thank you. I am a native Atlantan, right, from Frederick Douglass High School to Clark Atlanta University. I tell people my matriculation through Clark was a little different than most. I worked 11 at night to 7 in the morning at the city jail. And then I went to school during the daytime. And so just as I was getting to Clark, they dismantled the baseball team. So I had to find a way to help meet my financial obligations at Clark. I walked on the tennis team. And so there were 3 major things going on in my life at the time: school, work, and tennis. And so at that point, many of you know, something had with that many stressors in your life, lots of things give. And so I actually ended up sitting out a year at Clark, and a good friend of ours, Dr. Gerald Durley, who was the dean at the time, and you probably can relate to this. He caught me one day at the grocery store, and he knew I was not enrolled in school. And in the most preacher fashion he could, he cussed me from amazing grace to better understanding. And I got back in school. And so to that extent, I was able to finish school. And every time I got ready to leave the Department of Corrections, I would get promoted. And so I got promoted up through the ranks. And ultimately, I was able to retire as chief, spending a decade as chief. I was appointed under Mayor Reed in 2010 as chief. And so a little bit more about me. We have a wonderful family. My wife, Jackie, who you know well, 4 adult kids. And so we have blended a family that has unique qualities, but at the same time is really steeped in public service. You know, my uncle, the former chief judge at Fulton County, as well as my mom, Joy Thompson, and my father-in-law, Reggie Williams, who for many years ran the Fulton County Stadium and the Omni after that. And so, again, just a history of service in our community and an opportunity for us. And you know this, you know, we've known each other long enough. I ran for sheriff 3 times. And so I ran once as a sergeant, had no business running. I ran once as a major, and I had business running, just didn't have the political acumen and the service to our community to make a difference. And so after I retired from the city after 31 years, I ran again, and I am humbled and blessed to be our 28th Fulton County Sheriff.
Well, we're humbled and blessed to have you as our 28th Fulton County Sheriff. I can imagine how Durley talked to you. You know how Durley is. So yeah. I'm glad that Durley gave you that bit of advice. Now you're sheriff, Patrick. What does it mean to be sheriff? Because some people don't understand about the office of the sheriff.
And that's a very fair and valid point, right? You know this, so I lean on your expertise, both from the Board of Commissioners standpoint and certainly being mayor. Fulton County is the largest county in the state of Georgia with 159 counties. Each county has a sheriff, and those sheriffs, in our case, me as sheriff, we have 15 municipalities inside Fulton County. Each municipality has a police department. And so in the past, sheriffs were thought of, especially in Fulton County, merely just running the courts and merely running the county jail. Well, there is a third component, constitutional component, that surrounds and embodies being the chief law enforcement in the county. So I don't have to ask anybody's permission. While we have many jurisdictional lines from police department to police department, i.e. East Point, College Park, Alpharetta, whatever that looks like, the sheriff's office, we have statewide jurisdiction. And one of my commitments to our community is to go after those bad actors who do us no good, who mean us harm. And so we are not bound by jurisdictional guidelines and those, because criminals aren't either, right? So if a crime happens in Cobb County, they come right across and back to Fulton County, then we're going after those bad actors. To date, we've arrested more than 50 people that are or were wanted for homicide, rape, different various stages of murder, you name it. And we're going after those bad actors. We're not going after misdemeanors. Let me be clear, unless they're aggravated in nature. In other words, unless it's domestic violence, unless a judge has put a court order, we're going after those individuals that mean us no good. Now, to your point, there are two more legs to this justice stool, if you will, and the second being to protect the courts, and really we've done a really good job there. And then the last being run the county jail. Our county jail is the largest in the Southeast. We have to date really right at 3,500 detainees. And so it's one of the things that we do, and in my oath and my sworn staff oath is to be able to treat people humanely. And that's our goal, is to really lean in toward trying to figure out an environment, create an environment where we can treat people in a humane fashion while they await their day in court.
That's a big responsibility, Sheriff. And talk to the people a little bit about what does that mean in dollars, when you to run the jail. Talk to us about that, the financial aspect of running the jail.
And so our budget right now is $125 million, as you can imagine. Most of that is personnel. We're slated to have as many as 1,100 employees. Right now, we have 160 vacancies, if you will. And so we're going after qualified individuals to help us run the sheriff's office, become the #1 sheriff's office in the country. But jails aren't built to make money. And so in this obligation that we have as the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, that is our largest expenditure. That is the heaviest lift, if you will. And so while violent crime has gone up, let me make sure I say this right so I don't do any disjustice or injustice to my newly appointed friend in Atlanta, Darren Sherbaum. Congratulations to him on being appointed chief in Atlanta. But while violent crime, as we know, over the past couple of years has gone up, we have done a better job in law enforcement in clearing up those cases. So 54% of those cases that have been determined to be violent crime, we have put those individuals in jail. Mm-hmm. And so they're in jail for a longer period of time. This is a new phenomenon for penal institutions and jail institutions. And what I mean is people are in jail for more serious crimes. They're spending a longer time in jail because of those crimes. And then oftentimes, as you know, you helped us manage through this COVID conversation, which has really set our court system back. And so no one has managed through this like we have. We've done a really good job as an organization, and we need our community to help us really help us help them, if that makes sense. And that's where we are. We want to be good partners in our community and make sure that we're the #1 sheriff's office in the country.
Do you still house any amount of state and federal inmates in your jail?
So our state inmates, when I first became sheriff, one of the first things we did was to reinvigorate or really reconstitute our partnerships both on the federal level and at the state level. And so now every Tuesday and Thursday, if there are state inmates that need to be taken out to Jackson or taken to a state facility, we will do that more readily. You recall at one point, there were as many as 400 or 500 state inmates that needed to be transferred. We've done a better job there, recreating and establishing those partnerships. And on a federal level, we have partnered with different task forces, increased our engagement there. One of the biggest telltale signs, if you will, we just partnered with a number of law enforcement jurisdictions as well as the federal task force to shut down the discount mall over on Old National. And so that in and of itself was
absolutely.
That was huge for us. So again, those kinds of environment breed crime, breed organized crime. And so we want to do everything we can to protect our community.
Well, just getting away from the jail in a minute, let's talk about your personnel. I know you have been giving incentives for people to come to the sheriff department. Talked about, what do I have to do if I want to join the sheriff department tomorrow and take advantage of that $7,000?
So we've increased it to $9,000.
Okay.
So again, trying to keep up with the times. One of the things that we're doing is working with the Board of Commissioners to raise the starting salary again. When I first was sworn in, we raised the starting salary for detention officers, for our sheriff's deputies. And then this year, everybody across the board got a 7% pay raise. And so as we move into next year, we want to raise our starting base salary and then continue to give those individuals that come and take this journey with us pay increases, both professional staff. We don't call our civilians any longer. We call them professional staff. And I do that, and we did that intentionally because think about it, without HR, without those individuals driving the conversation, some of us even wouldn't get a paycheck. And so to that point, we are focused on making sure everybody is paid at the top of their pay range, if at all possible. And then we have done a really good job of hiring individuals, right? So that $9,000 signing bonus is certainly a great incentive. We have to do a better job of retaining individuals. So we've hired 400, but we've also lost 415. Now that is to people getting out of law enforcement. That is people going to other agencies, as well as people that our retirement system is now, you vested at 5 years, as unlike when I came along, you invested in 10 years, and then at 10 years, you were willing to make a commitment. And again, I did 31 years. I'm not asking people to do 31 years. We just have to take a closer look at that as we get ready to move forward. So,
I'm retired now. If I want to be a sheriff, how do I get that $7,000? Do you give it to me when I sign my name?
Negative. Now, first of all, that's not going to work. No. But once you come in, you do 6 months, right? You pass all the tests, you become certified, then we'll write you a check for, we had it split up at one point, $4,500 and $4,500. So it's easier for me, just based on the simple mathematics, to give you the $9,000 signing bonus and just continue to make sure you come to work. And
is there a limit to how long you got to stay on the job?
So, right, without me coming back after my $9,000, yes. So, we want to keep, we want you to be a part of our community, our law enforcement community, for 3 years. And then it's prorated after that. So if you stay 1 year, I'm coming after my $6,000. You stay 2 years, I'm coming after my 3. You stay 3 years, and we can part ways in good fashion.
Good. Talk to the people a little bit about Sheriff, about, as an officer, an individual. I'm coming, I want to be a sheriff. Talk to us about what is the take, and on the other hand, what's the cost in terms of getting that person ready to do the job?
So that numbers get thrown all over the place, right? Depends on where you are, how long the training is. The training to become a deputy sheriff is 11 weeks plus. We have additional policy and review and on the job field training, if you will. So from the time that we hire a person and put them in class, and we're moving toward a scenario where we're hiring people to do what they want to do. And so if you're already certified, for instance, 4 weeks later, we can put you with a field training officer. And not only will we start working on getting you your bonus, but you can be out fighting crime. And that's our goal, is to help us move into a location, be able to fight crime. So really it's really about $50,000, $75,000 all total in that first year that we lean in toward training.
So and that's good, because we need, everybody's having that problem in terms of retention and trying to get people in. And sometimes even the dollars don't excite people to come in and apply. Talk to me a little bit today too, also about the future of the jail. You know, what is it supposed to be going to look like in the future under your leadership? What is needed now?
So the great piece is, and thank you for the question. The great piece is, as you know, the county commission has fostered or put out a jail feasibility study, spent $1.2 million to determine what that looks like, what we need to do to build a new jail. And because look, I tell people all the time, our jail is 30 years old. It is past time in terms of, look, Arthur Blank, and I love him. I love the Falcons. I love Arthur Blank, but they built a new dome for $2 million. They built a new stadium, and it was not in use nearly the way that a jail is in use, right? You can imagine, right? We're holding 3,500 individuals, every toilet, every sink, every elevator, every sliding door. We use this stuff 24 hours, 7 days a week, weekends and holidays. And so it is going to be a hefty price tag to come along with doing and building a new jail, but it's one that's long overdue. You remember when you were on the commission, the jail was overcrowded the day we opened it.
Absolutely.
And so we have to do a better job of really reading tomorrow's newspaper today and understanding what those trends look like. And it will be a $1 billion investment. And so we just have to understand that we have an obligation to treat those individuals that are arrested in a fashion that is both humane and sensitive, at the same time holding them accountable. And so I'm proud of what the county has done with respect to reducing the court backlog, the COVID backlog, as well as trying to get people that deserve to be out on the street, out of jail and out of the facility.
Well, you're right. The other thing is, you have to equip your people to do the job effectively. What kind of new innovations have you brought into the sheriff department? What kind of new equipment? Talk to us a little bit about that.
So again, thank you. Right. If anybody that knows me, any of your listeners or viewers know me, I know just enough about technology to break it. But I'm a techno geek, right? I tell my people every day, if there is something you want that helps you do your job better, it can be from ballistic proof material all the way to technology. If there is something out there that will help you do your job better, let me know what that is. And if we can do it, right? If you tell me what you want and I don't do it, then it's my fault. If you don't tell me, it's your fault. So I tell everybody that no big eyes and no little U's, but we're leveraging technology. So we brought a company called Fusus in, and it's camera agnostic. So what does that mean, Sheriff? That means that if you have a Panasonic and I have a Sony, if somebody else has a Genetec and somebody else has a Motorola, we can import all those cameras into the same system. And so we got beat to the punch by APD. So they've already imported into this system 10,000 cameras. At the beginning of the year, as we move toward the beginning of the year, we will import another 4,000 cameras into this system. And so again, I mentioned the 15 cities inside Fulton County. Alpharetta is already using the system, which gives us end-to-end connectivity with respect to camera technology. So again, let me simplify that even further. Let's say someone, a little child, small child is missing in the city of South Fulton. Well, we can in turn get their description, look to see, hey, they have got off the bus with a red backpack. We can put that information in our camera system, and now we've created a force multiplier of thousands of cameras to not only try and help our community help find this small child, but it also works for license plates, right? It also works for anything we want to input into the system and go after and create a safer community, but go after some of these bad actors.
Right. I think that you talked about jurisdiction earlier, but I can remember one time when I was commissioner, someone asked me, why is the sheriff giving me this ticket? They actually thought the sheriff or the marshal couldn't really give them a ticket.
Well, look, and that's a great segue to make sure your listeners and viewers know we've started a traffic unit, right? High speed, low drag. I tell my traffic unit guys, listen, I don't care if you write one ticket, but let's create a safer environment. So if somebody is egregiously doing 100 miles an hour and it's dangerous, absolutely. We started a motors unit. So we have 6 seasoned certified motor operators that, now it's only 6, but it sounds like 600 when those Harleys coming down the street, right? Yeah. And so we do everything from funeral escorts to really VIP escorts, but at the same time, creating support for that traffic unit and just out in our community. Our K9 unit, you remember when I first started, we had 2.5 dogs, and I say the 0.5 because one was ready to retire. Now we have 9 K9s, and so we're on the cutting edge of really being the premier sheriff's office in the country. And I know there's a lot of sheriff's offices in the country, yes, but your sheriff's office is ready and willing to be an integral part of our community. We've increased our community engagement team from 1 person to 8 people and an emotional support dog. You talk about what we're doing and being part of our community. On Fridays, we do Feel Good Fridays, and it is, we go out to our elementary schools, take our community engagement team, and then we actually do carpool with elementary schools, right? So so parents drive up, they see an officer, our office, we got music playing, there's officers that escort out small kids. See, I'm a firm believer that we are if we have to really address kids in middle school and high school, we may be too late. So we're starting at the elementary school, getting people. I want kids to understand that's not the first time we want to see that interaction. We want that interaction where it's a positive interaction, creating a foundation that people can know they can go back to depending on law enforcement.
The cameras you talked about, how do you dispense them through the cities, and how do you pick the locations?
So in terms of those programs, we really partner with schools that want us. So we've gone over to Westlake, we've gone over to we've been to Alpharetta, so we bounce back and forth, kind of this perception between North County and South County. Yeah. And so we've done Atlanta Public Schools. We've been all over. We just finished 4 different events for Trunk or Treat. So we get some of our fancy cars and fill them with candy and go up and give the kids a safe environment to come. We look forward to this time of the year all the time. We feed families. We partner with different city council members. Helen Willis, for instance, we're going to give away over 600, almost 1,000 meals, which will include ham this year. Now, they told me it was a turkey shortage. So if you tell me it's a turkey shortage, I believe you. So I hadn't seen it just yet, but we will continue to really push. And I can't wait till we get to Shop with a Sheriff for Christmas. So last year we did 100 right over off Cascade and 285, partnered with Walmart and really provided Christmas, if you will, for over 100 families. This year our goal is 200 families. So we will go from Roswell to Cascade to Union City to you name it. We travel, and it's for us. It's about creating those partnerships.
One event that I particularly enjoy every year is National Night Out. And I get a chance to, people come out and get a chance to see the sheriff officers and look at the robots and the helicopters and the motorcycles and things that your kids really get excited about that. You've done a great job in participating in National Night Out.
I appreciate it. And so I'm trying to get another helicopter. We have a helicopter that's on borrowed time, if you will. Yeah. And we just got a brand new rescue vehicle. That's an armored vehicle that we are going to continue to be an integral part of National Night Out. Look, when we are able to engage with our community, we have our officers, and me specifically, I have a great time when it's one of the best nights that we have. And yes. So I love it, and we'll continue to be an integral part of that.
So you get in that vehicle. Now, when I was a mayor, I got chewed out a little bit. They said I was buying a tank.
Yeah, well, you called it a Bearcat. It's a rescue vehicle.
Yeah,
it's a rescue vehicle.
Well, I want to make sure everybody knows that you got one.
Yeah, well, it's a rescue vehicle, and in light of the last few deputies, especially in Cobb County, that were ambushed, and these kinds of things, believe it or not, can save lives, and that's our goal, is to redefine what that looks like. But it's interesting, to your exact point. You go to South County and you got blessed out about having that vehicle. You go to North County and they actually have kids jumping off the vehicles, enjoying the vehicles, being a part of it. So we just have to deliver our message. We have to do a better job from a law enforcement perspective of delivering a better message and making sure people understand.
But you do think that is an essential vehicle for law enforcement?
It absolutely is. It saves lives. That is why we needed it. And if I have my way, we will get another one. We have ramped up our SWAT team. We want to be not just the #1 sheriff's office in the country. We want to be who our community views as those that really protect and serve, right? When you look at our slogan, it is protect, serve, and build in our communities. And so we want to be able to do all of those things and build the connective tissue that goes along with it.
Well, Sheriff Labat, I have Dolores here with me. So she's got a question for someone. Go ahead, Dolores.
Yeah. Sheriff, how are you?
I'm outstanding. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. We have one question from the community.
Yes,
how
ma'am.
Can a parent enroll their children in a mentoring program?
So we are because of COVID, we are just opening our programs back up. So we don't have a Scared Straight program, right? For us, it's about exposure. And so we want to partner with our parents to do that. And so I will make sure I put in my chat my number, and you can have that individual send me a text, or you can give it to them directly, and we will find them a mentoring program. But again, because of COVID, we're just now opening our facilities back up. We're focusing in on reentry, right? And it really more or less depends on the age of the child, because the one thing that we did do the last couple of years, which is absolutely we've received a great response to, and that is we built an internship program, a paid internship program. So our youth can come in and really work side by side and with some of our teams, so that they can get a feel for it, and they can see, to your very point, everybody needs a mentor. And so we need to be able to provide that, and that's our goal. So Please, I'll share my number in the chat.
Okay, great. But let's talk a little bit about intergovernmental cooperation. And I know in police departments, especially here in South Fulton and others, that sometimes that's needed. You just did something over in College Park in terms of the flea market. Tell me how that all comes about.
Well, one of the things that I was very intentional about, and that was rebuilding our relationships from an intergovernmental perspective. And so I've had an opportunity to have conversation with all 15 mayors, whether individually or together in groups. And one thing remains true: what can we do as a sheriff's office to help? And so this was brought about in terms of several investigative opportunities we took part in with College Park PD. And we knew at the time that 99%, 97% of the nefarious activities that were taking place over on Old National really weren't providing, everything going on in there was counterfeit. And so we partnered with some federal agencies as well as some local agencies, and we actually dismantled that. And so we are going through and cataloging all of that information, getting it to the DA's office, prosecuting the individuals. At last total, in terms of estimated value, we were over $1.2 billion in counterfeit, and that's with a B, in counterfeit goods. Again, bringing about some criminal element that we hope to get off the street. So one of the first calls I got was from Mayor Broom, right? Really just saying, thank you for helping create a safer community. We have opened up our doors we have investigators that, to your point, in that kind of intergovernmental agreement piece, that investigate senior crimes, right? Crimes against our seniors, investigate human trafficking, certainly drugs and narcotics, and as well as counterfeit. So we have built the capacity to help our local law enforcement any way we can, so from traffic stops to going after those that are wanted. And so one of the first things I did was met with the chiefs and said, who do you need to be sworn in by the sheriff's office to help give you that extended range, if you will? So if you're looking for that person that has come into the city of South Fulton, harmed somebody in the city of South Fulton, and you know they're hiding out in Roswell, well, because I've deputized you, you can go after those bad actors. And so those are the kinds of things. It's give and take on everybody's part, and everybody's excited about holding people responsible that harm our community.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that piece, Sheriff, because I remember when I was in office, you deputized about 20 of the officers that we had, and I think that they helped a lot in this jurisdictional deal that we had going on. There's multi-district task force. And I've always wondered if there's a multi-district task force that is needed, which company or which city or which municipality, which government is the head? I mean, who calls this thing and kind of supervises what's going on?
So in the past, and I don't stand in anyone's way. And what I mean is, if the city of South Fulton wants to run point on a particular crime fighting strategy, I'm okay with that. If they want to do it in Alpharetta, I'm okay with that. But what we have done is stepped in, created a Scorpion unit, right? Created a traffic unit, created and positioned ourselves to be also a law enforcement, a true law enforcement agency. So when I came into office, we had well over 2,000 warrants that needed to be executed. We're down below 1,200 now. And so we are running point on the majority of the law enforcement activities that cross jurisdictional boundaries. And I'll give you a great example. When I came in to office, the thought process was, well, that belongs to APD, let them deal with it. That belongs to the city of South Fulton. Let them deal with it. That belongs to Roswell, to Sandy Springs, to Union City. Well, my mantra is, I'm the sheriff. By extension, you're the sheriff. Go deal with it, period. And so anybody else that wants to get on board with this crime fighting strategy, we welcome that. But we're not waiting for anybody to do our jobs.
Traffic fatalities, I know that sometimes the sheriff is in the area. All right. What is your responsibility to a traffic incident in a city?
So listen, I love the question, right? And I hope your viewers know this is not scripted, right? No. I get a call from one of my community engagement people, and they're saying what a great job they did preventing this road rage accident, and they're waiting on the Atlanta Police Department to show up. I'm sitting there scratching my head. You the sheriff. Why are you waiting on the police department to show up? do your job. Yeah. Do your job.
Yeah.
And so we've had to change the culture. And so to that end, we don't have to wait on anybody. Now on the reverse side of that, we have started, one of the things I said during the campaign that I want to ingrain into our culture, and that is, if you see a police officer on the side of the road, it could be any jurisdiction, and your time permits and you're not going to an emergency call, pull over behind that person and make sure they know, they can feel the presence, that they can in turn know they have the support that's needed. And I'll give you one more element, right? When I became sheriff, they said, "Oh, sheriff, here's your radio number." And I don't do whole numbers. I made this real clear. My radio number is Sheriff 01. So if I pass an accident, I will stop. And when I go on the radio and say Sheriff 01 and give my location, it's amazing how many different jurisdictions show up, right? From the state right. patrol to wherever I am. And that, so I say that to say, if my team individually, if my team knows that I'm willing to get out and do that, then they should be able to get out and do that and be an active, engaged part of the community. And now there are times when we do need to, because of resources, we need to hand off that investigation to a local jurisdiction, and they may be able to do some things a little quicker. But our goal is to stop, help, and if necessary, again, take action to include any arrest, any tickets, if need be. So
I hope our viewers did hear you say that you have a traffic unit.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about what that looks like and whether I know we have resource issues, but what does that look like, and where are you with the traffic unit? Are you in all cities, or what's the deal?
So one of the things I wanted to do, I'm like any major corporation. I want to know what the talent is, what the talent pool is, and who does the best job at it. And so I went to the State Patrol, I went to the Department of Public Safety, and I said, who does the best job at traffic? And they told me it was one Sergeant Michael Lynch, right? And he was in he was in Fairburn at the time. And he was an officer. And I had a conversation with him, and I wanted him to start this unit. And so the unit started out with him. We're now over 5 individual officers, but more importantly, between the Scorpion unit, which has another 16, 17 people on it, we are now in different parts of Fulton County doing the things we need to do with respect to traffic. But even more so, we partner with City of South Fulton, Sandy Springs, and those are the latest 2 that we partner with. So when we have roadside checks, whatever that looks like, we need to make that happen. And then again, we mentioned those cameras. We are leveraging technology on every car. And so for your listeners and viewers that don't believe that the sheriff's office in Fulton County will stop them for traffic, we just encourage them to slow down and be patient.
Sheriff, law enforcement officers are facing other issues that they didn't have a whole lot to do with years ago. And it takes some training to get them up there. And one such issue is mental health. And are you training your officers to deal with those people who may have a mental health issue?
So the short answer is yes. Every recruit that comes through the academy has to go to crisis intervention training. We are taking a step further. I hired a mental health specialist. And so we are providing those opportunities when it comes to additional training. You, like I know, recognize that our jails have become the state hospitals with respect to mental health.
Yes. Yes.
And so we're continuing to add resources to our jails. We're continuing to add resources, especially from a mental health perspective and what that looks like. Our latest numbers show that 62% of the people come in have had some level of interaction with mental health experts and or concerns even before they arrive at the jail. And so we need to make sure that we equally have the resources to battle that, or at least to understand it. And so we continue to have refresher courses. We continue to really train our staff when it comes to mental health needs, what that may look like. And then we are both at the South Annex and starting at 901 Rice Street, we're creating, just like we put a division in play to deal with traffic, to deal with fighting crime, we're putting divisions in place to deal with mental health issues. And so where we have those officers that want to take part and grasp hold of that new program around mental health, gives them some additional training, gives them some additional tools to put in their tool belt to help deal with those that might be in that time of need or recognize that they might be in that time of need. And so we've received high praises in making that happen. Even when we get to building a new jail, part of that new building, if you will, just the aesthetics and the building itself is centered around what mental health needs we have, what reentry needs we have. And so we're trying to be very forward thinking when it comes to that. So we can, again, as I said earlier, read tomorrow's newspaper today and forecast what that looks like and be very visionary about it.
Sheriff, you're talking about a lot of stuff today, and my thing, I'm here listening to you, and the question that comes to my mind is, how do you take hold of all of this? With the issue of not having enough staff, the issues of not a jail being funded at this time and stuff like that. I mean, it's a lot. And how do you do this and then maintain the morale of the people that you have?
Well, here's the thing. People will fight for you as long as they know you'll fight for them.
Absolutely.
So you know me a long time. I'm pro-union, I'm anti-nonsense. And so when the union comes to me and say, we need a pay raise, I say, I agree. Right. But let me tell you what I'm doing about it. And so again, I go back to point out that year one, we raise salaries. Year two, we work with the Board of Commissioners to give everybody a 7% pay raise. A 7% pay raise, I might add, that was not funded back into our budget. We had to figure out how to fund it. And we did that. Our goal is to give people a pay raise next year. Not that a pay raise is always the solution to get to attacking morale, because oftentimes it is not. One of the things that we discovered when I became sheriff is our leadership didn't even know how to talk to each other, much less talk to those that were serving in those capacities. So we immediately started a leadership institute, and it is made up of different various levels of those that are in our sheriff's office, whether you're just coming in the door, whether you've been here 25 years, so that we can have an honest conversation around what good leadership is. Sometimes we tell our leaders, just be quiet and listen. And then the other piece is, I have no problem, no qualms going, sitting down, talking to our officers, our deputies, our professional staff, whatever that looks like, because they know I'm going to continue to fight for them. And the heroes and sheroes that work at 901 Rice Street and at our South Annex deserve every penny and every penny of praise that we can give them. And so we've done things for the first time this year. We had a friends and family picnic, and we had hundreds of our employees come out and really just to say thank you. Sometimes we and you know this, for having dealt with multiple, of thousands of employees. Sometimes it's just about saying thank you and going out and seeing your leader in a space that allows them to interact, allows them to introduce you to their better half, whoever that may be, and their kids. Sometimes that just means a lot. And so we're focusing on, again, when we build this new facility, it is one of the main focuses is our employees, whether it be a gym, whether it be better food, whether it be a parking space, the things that matter. And so part of that engagement is getting people engaged early and often. And to that point, right, we are creating an intranet sheriff's app that is just for our team. They can log on to their phone, and at that point, they can get all their HR paperwork done. We want to make life easy. And so even with that, our community and your listeners and viewers can go to their favorite Google store and or Apple store and download the Fulton County Sheriff's app, and you'll be able to have the sheriff's office at your fingertips.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, Dolores has another question for you.
Okay.
I have two questions, Sheriff. The first one is what has changed to ensure quality sheriffs are being hired and trained?
So first thing we did was revamp that process, because I don't know who asked the question, but to your point, we needed to do a deep dive into why was it taking so long to hire people. We then had to make sure everybody had a psychological test. One of the things that happens, and it's not just at the point of hiring, is that we end up with a lot to unpack. We see things in the facility, we see things on the street. And so our goal now, as we move into my third year, is to have everyone have an additional psychological test, right? So that we can help people unpack that. But more importantly, equally as important to that, is making sure not that we hire the right candidates. And so we put different boards in place where people now, you can't just come get hired. You actually have to talk to a series of individuals who make an assessment that help us hire the right people. Now, here's the other piece is, and I tell people all the time, but for the grace of God, go I. And so, yeah, when I was younger, I made a couple mistakes. And so if there's a candidate that has a questionable mistake in their past, we don't just chunk it in the trash, right? I tell people all the time, again, but the grace of God, I am the sheriff, and I was a chief before that. But the way that you affect change, in my case, was to climb to the top of that rung so that you can be a change maker. And so where we're able now to give people a second chance, figure out what that looks like. But more importantly is we're a bit more nosy now, right? Yeah. So when an individual presents an application, we're looking at not just your credit, we're looking at your social media, right? We can tell a lot about a person's social media or about a person from their social media. And so there are a number of steps that we put in place to help get a better quality candidate.
And I hope that some of these kids around here listen about that social media thing as they go through college, because colleges are doing the same thing.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
The second question is it the state or the county's responsibility for safety of inmates?
So it is my responsibility. I'm the sheriff, and so it depends. So it depends on the lens that you look through when it comes to the county or the state. If you are in the state penitentiary or in a state facility, it is the state's responsibility. If you are one of 3,500 detainees we have in Fulton County, it is my responsibility. And the buck stops with me. And so we continue to put good leaders in place, continue to put good programs in place. Right now, we're working with the Academy of Hope. It's a countrywide, really actually is a worldwide phenomenon in terms of turning some of the most dangerous prisons into places that are more productive. Our goal is to, when an individual is arrested, from the time reentry starts when a person is arrested. And we need to figure out how to put a better individual back in our community than when they were arrested. Now, there are some people, let me be quite honest, there's some people just flat out belong in jail. And we're going to see about those individuals. But to answer the question specifically, if it is a county jail that someone is brought to, the sheriff that runs that jail in the state of Georgia is responsible. So I'm responsible for the Fulton County Jail.
One thing I never did understand when I was a commissioner, that when budget time came, the sheriff department always gave money back. And I find it kind of be crazy that you're asking me for money, but you're giving me money back. I hope you're not doing that, but that's what they did.
So I don't speak, I try not to speak ill of the past, right? But I will tell you, quite frankly, I found that absurd as well. And I look at it from this perspective. I can't come and ask you for money and then tell you over the course of 4 years, I'm gonna give you $3 million back. That's $12 million.
Right.
I'd rather invest that in my team. So this year, we have done the exact opposite. And the year prior, I told the Board of Commissioners what I needed. Some of them did not believe me. And so this year, we have such a deterioration problem in our jail. You can appreciate this. We have 1,200 shanks, 1,200 homemade knives that we found, we confiscated. We continue to confiscate every day in our facility. So I took those 1,200 shanks, put them in wheelbarrows, and I rolled them into the Board of Commissioners meeting. And I said to them, right, you say this is your building, I want to give it back to you piece by piece, right? But ultimately, my ask for this year is an additional $69 million. Now, 64% of that is for pay raises for our employees, and the other is operational and in nature. So I'm not giving anything back. I told them, and you can appreciate this, I said, I want to make sure we spend every dime. And not just every dime. I want to owe you $10, and then I want you to take a warrant out to come get it. See who's going to say it.
Sheriff, I can imagine that. I'm glad I wasn't on the Board of Commissioners when you walked in with all them shanks.
And then I brought my K9 unit in there. So we brought 9 dogs in there. 2 of them don't get along. So it was a little loud in there. And that's people that were taking it back.
Sometimes it's dangerous to bring K9 around. You
know. Look, we kept.
Yeah, one more question here before we leave.
We kept our drug sniffing dogs away from people.
I got you. Go ahead. She has one more question before we get out of here.
Are members of the Board of Commissioners invited into the facilities?
Absolutely. So we did that in week 1. We have invited every commissioner into the facility. There are some commissioners that had been in the facility prior and didn't need to see it again. And then there are commissioners who took time out to come take the tour. And so a special thanks to Commissioner Khadija Abdul-Rahman, Commissioner Hall, Commissioner Arrington. And so they came, saw the facility again. Commissioner Pitts, right? Chairman Pitts came, saw it again. I also extended that invitation to the Atlanta City Council. And so many of them did take advantage of coming to see the facility. So I've been very transparent over the last 2 years, and I want to make sure that your viewers and your listeners understand that as sheriff, I am responsible to them. I'm not responsible to anybody else. So as a constitutional officer, I am going to always do what's best for our county as a whole, and I'm certainly humbled to be able to serve.
All right, we have one more.
One last question. Did their views change of the needs?
Many of them did. Many of them did. And so I won't say it changed as much as they got a realistic picture of what is happening day to day. Much like bringing the shanks in, much like, I've been having very, 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 very transparent conversations with our commissioners. And so I think, what I know has happened is they have watched me move from just not winning an election, but being very thoughtful and intentional about telling them what we need as a sheriff's office. And so you can feel the support that has really galvanized our sheriff's office?
Well, Sheriff, I want to thank you. I mean, you're doing an awesome job, and what my intent of this show is to teach people things that they don't know. You have answered some questions here. I know other people have listened to you, and they probably found out things about the sheriff department that they really didn't think that you go through. So I want to thank you for that. You know, you're not just my sheriff, you're my friend. Even though you're a capper, we're gonna look over that part. But you're my friend, and you're doing an awesome job. From me to you, I haven't seen anything done better than what you're doing right now. So
I appreciate that. That means a lot. You know, sometimes I tell my young folks, sometimes you have to make people your mentor, and they don't even know it. And so I've been able to watch you over the years, watch you, how you handle yourself, how you handle the board, right? Whether you agreed or disagree, what that looks like. And so thank you for your service to our community. I am proud to be your friend, and I look forward to whatever you have going on next. And I tell my team, we've only been at this 670 days. Nobody's counting, but we are just getting started. And we are certainly humbled and proud to be your sheriff's office.
Well, thank you. Since I can't get my 9,000, I try to put that in. Maybe I'm too old now.
No, but we'll make it happen.
Once again, don't shut up. We don't want to say that was a joke. But we want to make sure that wish you all the safety in the world for you.
Thank you.
And your family. I mean, you got a great family. I know a bunch of them, your wife and your uncles and stuff like that. So you come from good stock. So we appreciate you, man.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Something you don't know, or you may not know, and you may be just sensitive to it. And I only bring this up because my wife last Friday was recently diagnosed with breast cancer. So we encourage all your viewers and your listeners to please go get checked. It was caught early on, so it's very treatable. We're excited about the doctors that she's going to. So I know we're on the tail end of National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but again, I want people to go get checked. It is so vital that people go get checked. I'm proud of my wife. You know her personally, and you know she's a fighter. So I look forward to really moving past this chapter in our life. But I want to make sure you and your visitors, you and your listeners are reminded to go get checked and reminded to go vote.
Yes, you got to go vote, but get checked first. That's very good. We're praying. We'll put her on prayers for her. I know Jack. She's a fighter, you know. So I'm not worried about that. All right.
Amen.
Okay. And thank you so much, Chef. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, and thank you for your patience.
Okay. The topics and opinions are those of the show host and guests, and not WCEG Network. Thank you for your continued support, and always remember, in all you're getting, get an understanding.
Amen.